Hello, everyone. I'm Keiko Ogawa. It is a great honor to be given this opportunity to talk about RegTech in such a great event. So, yes, thank you. So today, I'd like to present you with 4 topics regarding RegTech in 10 minutes. And after that, we'd like to move a panel discussion with 3 wonderful panelists from technology companies providing RegTech solution. So next, please. Next page, please. Okay, so next page, page 3, please. So before starting, let me introduce myself briefly. So I am a partner of EY Japan, the RegTech leader. I have been working as a governance and compliance specialist to support many Japanese companies, including Japanese financial institutions like a leading bank, security companies, and insurance companies as well, for about 20 years after having worked as an auditor for over 10 years. And 2 years ago, I built up the RegTech team in EY Japan. Since then, we are working with regulator, RegTech startups, user companies, and academias to facilitate RegTech ecosystem. Let's start first topics. Next, please. So what's a RegTech? So first of all, what's a RegTech? You can see here some images. Please think about how you would define a RegTech. Next page, please. So if all UK financial service regulations were printed out and stacked, it would be 3 times higher than the Eiffel Tower. This is just UK regulations. Then can you imagine how much would it be globally? Also based on Thomson Reuters, every global regulatory update stack up more and more every year. So last year, we worked and supported with Cambridge Center of Alternative Financial Teams, and it issued Global RegTech Industry Benchmark Report. It also suggests that technologies plays important role for regulation. If you like, please download the report. Please, next. You can see here many regulations from a wide range of areas. We identified many various expectations of RegTech of many stakeholders. Next, please. So you can see here the Japanese word in the center. We said in Japanese, "Tashika." Especially currently, I think trusted data is more important as a foundation of digitalization, especially in the RegTech field. Today, we'd like to talk to guests about this word that later. Let's move on the next topics, please. So, RegTech global market. So you can see here, this is a volume of RegTech global activities represented by estimated revenue and fundraising. Some cases are not new technologies. Some parts have been around for 1 or 2 decades. However, various segments that make up highly coordinate new markets with new aid value. So next, please. As you can see here, target use case of RegTech solution are for data collection, data analysis, risk identification, regulatory management, and so on. And next, please. And you can see here, RegTech regulatory areas are KYC, anti-money laundering solution, such as negative research using AI and transaction monitoring as well. Also for fraud detection, personal data protection, product governance and quality control, and also for regulatory financial reporting and tax return as well. And next, please. In addition, currently we are very focusing trusted AI. In many global operating companies, also are used AI used in many different regions globally. That's the reason why the company needs to consider about wide range expectation of each regulators regarding AI new risk. I think it will be more important in the near future. Let's move on to next topics. RegTech market in Japan. Please see this bar graph. Yellow bar shows the percentages of RegTech firms headquartered in each country, and the gray bar shows the percentages of RegTech firms active in each country. The geographical concentration of activities reflects the influence of the world major financial service center. Almost 2/3 of activities have significant market share in the UK and nearly in the US. On the other hand, as you can see here, Japan is still on the starting point despite major financial service center. Next, please. So while it is still at starting point in Japan, but several new startups have already been expanding their businesses. For example, TRUSTDOCK, Frontier, Keychain, and Budget. On the other hand, many global vendors having RegTech function are also entering to Japanese market. Symphony, Celonis, and various technologies. Today we have 3 panelists from TRUSTDOCK, Symphony, and Celonis. Let's move on to the next page, the topic 4. RegTech ecosystem. Please move to the next page, please. So page 18. Yes, RegTech maturity model. This is RegTech maturity model. I think most companies are still on the far left stage. However, some startups have been already challenging the second or next stage using latest technology like RPA and AI. Currently, RegTech is going to be more dynamic, real-time, and cooperative. Or no, so sorry, before. So, for example, using open data and end-to-end compliance with machine readable and machine executable and so on. Furthermore, some companies try to separate their compliance workload using external specialized RegTech foundation. Now we are especially pay attention to RegTech collaboration benefit. Yes, this page. So RegTech ecosystem. As you know, the regulators and regulation, innovation, and compliance are closely connected to the public and the private sector, and it drives RegTech ecosystem for further innovation to success in the age of digital transformation. How to establish a RegTech ecosystem will be key success factor. Next page, please. Okay, next, please. Also, the Japanese regulator are challenging. So page 20, please. JFSA emphasizes the importance of a public-private partnership platform to support RegTech ecosystem. In addition, Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry has developed a basic framework for RegTech SupTech implementation roadmap. The Prime Minister or Minister's Office encouraged the RegTech SupTech drive innovation as a part of their 2020 growth strategies. Next page, please. So in this slide, I want to share an actual RegTech ecosystem use case in Japan. P&C insurance industry has been working to in-house an industry-wide database of fraud-related claims. I'm really interested in this initiative because Japanese several key and big players are involved in cooperation and drive Japanese innovation. Next, please. As compared to FinTech, RegTech is expected to create further innovation through the collaboration of many stakeholders. So today, I want to talk about RegTech ecosystem in addition to being the trusted data with 3 key players. Okay, so let's move on the long-awaited panel discussion. And next, please. Okay, can you show the next, please? Okay, so traditionally the RegTech was used as a technology for regulatory compliance, where primary goal was to reduce compliance cost. But recently, RegTech is becoming more dynamic. In some cases, RegTech has already incorporated it into the latest technology that provides a better service, like GPS. I'm sorry, the before page. So now the GPS has solved many crimes. Or in the other case, the technology itself has a compliance function embedded at the same time. In addition, instead of the regulator monitors for its compliance, there are cases where peers in an industry collaborate and jointly develop latest technologies that control the risk and achieve reliability and stability of the market by themselves. Indeed, today, we have 3 key players from those various fields. So, Mr. Hirotaka Kobayashi, President of Celonis, and Mr. Gen Uehara, Head of Strategy and Planning, Asia Pacific region of Symphony, and Mr. Akihide Higo, Director of co-founder of TRUSTDOCK. So let's start the discussion. And okay, so Mr. Kobayashi, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, hello. It's very honored to be here. My name is Hirotaka Kobayashi, President of Celonis KK. Celonis is a pioneer of a new software category called EMS, which helping companies to execute operations in an optimal way. One of the core EMS technologies is process mining, based on academic mathematical theory and realized by digital technology in the past 10 years. Just as X-ray or CT scan visualize human body, process mining does the same for business process. It ensures data-oriented transparency. More than 1,000 global organizations and an increasing number of Japanese companies are using Celonis for KPI improvements and internal or external auditing. Next page, please. Typically, in one organization, there are a lot of software applications and databases and ERPs. Those are fragmented. So that's why IT systems cannot provide a consistent, comprehensive, a true picture of how business operations are really executed. We believe that this fragmentation limits your organization's potential to execute operations in a full potential. Celonis EMS connects with any kinds of IT systems to visualize business processes, identify root causes of pain points, advises next actions, and automate process flows, and then monitors KPI is being changed. So this way, we'd like to help your organizations to achieve your business objectives. Thank you very much. 以上になります。ありがとうございます。
Thank you so much. So next, Mr. Uehara-san, you please introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Ogawa-san. My name is Gen Uehara.
Next page, please.
Yeah, so privileged to participate in this event. I'm based in Japan, and I work for Symphony in charge of the strategy and planning. Symphony provides the critical network infrastructure which connect the workflow of finance inside of the company and also across the company, across the industries. And we already have more than 360 world's largest financial institution in our community. So I have a privilege of working with the global banks, name it, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, HSBC, BNP Paribas, or the private banks in Singapore, or the Japanese mega banks, and so on. So they are interconnected using Symphony network. And Ogawa-san stressed on the word trust in her presentation, and compliance and security is core of our platform. And it's a fundamental of our platform. So I'm very, very happy to contribute to this panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So Mr. Higo-san, please introduce yourself, please. And next page, please.
Hello, my name is Higo from TRUSTDOCK. Excuse me that slides are in the Japanese. We are a startup focusing on identity verification and digital identity. We are currently supporting companies in Japan with a smartphone application that supports various eKYC methods to help them perform KYC and we are trying to go Southeast Asia. This application is also designed to empower the individual's digital identity. Next, please. Our recent efforts have been focused on providing proposals and services to local governments. We are working on POC experiments with Fukuoka City and Tsukuba City, which are progressive local governments that are very keen to promoting startup policies and digital government. I'm very happy to join here and looking forward to working with you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So let's start the panelist discussion. So first question, Mr. Uehara-san. Symphony was funded by 15 financial institutions to provide convenience and compliance foundation for the industry at the time. I think it deserves the special attention that the industry has created to the technology platform to promote the reliability of the industry and further digitalization by their own and collaboration with competent peers instead of being instructed by the regulator. So what's your thoughts on working with competitors, industry, and the social significance of it, please?
Thank you. So I remember your slide has the phrase collaboration benefit. And I think that's exactly it. The area focused on by the RegTech, the compliance and the governance and some of the security piece. So the RegTech and a little bit beyond is so important and fundamental working in finance. And so all of the, the largest banks who are investor of Symphony, they believe that's not the area they should be competing with each other. Rather than competing with each other, why don't we collaborate and build the platform, the foundation, where they can, so the most difficult piece of the compliance and governance, why don't we build the platform so that not everyone has to build it themselves? So create the platform which have the open API and so on, and you can actually build the business process on top of it. And the product you create on top of it, they can compete. If they're the competitor, they can compete with each other. But for people who work in finance knows well, most in finance is such a community business. The bank and the broker and asset manager, exchange, investors are all connected. It's so often that they may be competing in this particular business, but they are collaborating. They are, the vendor and customer in other area, and so on. So they have to work collaboratively anyway. If that's the case, it just makes sense. So that that compliance and governance and security layer create the platform so that they don't need to compete with each other in that space, but create that foundation so that all the finance and fintech company can compete on top of that. So that, I think that was part of the, the genesis of Symphony, building the platform so that the industry can move forward faster altogether.
Oh, great, thank you. So, Mr. Kobayashi, what are your thoughts on the importance of data governance within the companies and the benefit of investing in the promotion of digitalization, please?
Yeah, that is an important question. I think there are many aspects to data governance. First, there are structures and rules to ensure security and data accuracy. Such aspects can lead to restraining the business operations sometimes. So the utilization of data should be a governance to be meaningful for business operations. So otherwise, the concept of return investment will be difficult to establish, and as a result, digitization may be delayed. At the same time, the benefits are not limited to those that can be measured in monetary terms, but the quality improvement management. So I think we should have a clear aspiration and target of digitization first. With that, we can have success criteria of our digitization effort. We need to establish management framework and a process to assess how digitization contributes to business. Those are helpful to reflect how successful our effort is and how far is it to meet the success criteria. So we need to make this feedback cycle function to drive digitization into the right direction. In short, without proper objective and governance, we cannot get significant outcome. That's my thought.
Great. Thank you so much. And Mr. Higo-san, as the digital world evolves, I feel that connection between the real world and the digital world will become even more important. Above all, I think the digital identifier is a key factor to digitalization, which also has a compliance perspective. So especially with the recent COVID-19 situation, the non-face-to-face relationship will become more important. right and obligation are recognized digitally as well. So please tell us about your thoughts on your company's social significance in digital transformation, please.
Okay. First, we believe that KYC and digital identity are two sides of the same coin. This means one side of the coin cannot solve all of the various problems alone. In Japan, several laws define multiple methods of identity verification. Some are for facing situation and some are performed by online. eKYC was defined and made available by law in 2018. There are gradations in the intensity of KYC identification, and there are some that are difficult to completely prevent or detect fraud, such as those that attempt to verify the authenticity of a document by taking a digital picture of a physical ID card, which is difficult to detect. We believe that to achieve truly effective KYC, it is not only the effort of businesses, but also it is needed to empower consumers by enhancing their digital identities. We want to support businesses to perform KYC and at the same time want to support to strengthen the digital identity of consumers. In this way, we believe that KYC can be performed effectively and can make a significant contribution to the compliance cost of businesses. That's all.
Thank you so much. So I feel that it will be no longer before we can track all activities of digital identified people. So Mr. Kobayashi, I think that your company's process mining tool has great significance to visualize the work process. Mine issues as long as their track are recorded digitally. However, I think that there are many companies that have not yet been digitalized. So what are the issues when implementing or using your process mining tools? Also, I'd like to ask you about the culture and the governance issues of the companies that need to be changed in order to achieve digitalization, please.
Yes, that's a difficult question. I mean, since the digital world is highly transparent, it is necessary to become accustomed to transparency and to have data-driven, fact-based decision-making processes and personal skills. I know some people saying that they are afraid and anxious about becoming transparent. But especially in the case of Japanese companies, the benefits of making each other's work easier through improvement of transparency would outweigh the downside. Because in typical Japanese organization, things cannot be decided without going through multi-layered decision-making steps from the bottom up to the management. In such organization, people tended to have, inward thinking. But transparency enables executives, middle managers, and frontline workers to have the same perspective, same data, fact-based perspectives of customers, markets, and environments. So eventually, I believe transparency will unleash people's potential and make organizations more agile. So governance based on organizational logic is inward, but it can be said it's necessary and must be to aim for open governance and transparent management based on data. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. So actually, there are still many manual works such as faxing and the telephone calls, etc. So, Mr. Uehara-san, so what kind of issue will be solved, and what kind of benefit will be offered in terms of transparency and governance and being trusted. Also, for example, the Celonis has different purpose, but please tell us your opinion about the future development of technology through collaboration with other fields for new opportunity, please.
Thank you, and it's been fascinating to hear from Higo-san and Kobayashi-san as well, right? The empowering the consumer and providing the transparency with the organization, but we all know that's only possible when the data is digitalized. As long as the data stays in the manual flow, Ogawa-san, you mentioned, our favorite fax, or sometimes the manual processes, or some of the phone call doesn't stay in digitized data. That does not empower the consumer or provide the transparency in the organization. So interesting enough, so what people learn from this pandemic isn't really that, oh, great, I move email from chat and this is convenient. They may have felt it, but what the pandemic provided was actually transparency for the inefficiency. So the people who used to work in a single space used to be able to, I don't know this, let me ask the person next to me. And if he doesn't know, I can ask the person next to him too. But now everyone work from home. I actually don't know where the person next to me is. He may be at home, he may not be there. I don't have a visual cue. And the worst thing is if I had to ask the person next to that person, that process which used to take in the office less than a minute could take a day to confirm some kind of information. So this actually made people realize this was inefficient. So that means they have to move to some kind of more digitalized collaboration platform to make them efficient. And the byproduct of that is the data. Now they have an online data. And so in order to move all the process to digital, as we spoke about, it's important to establish the platform you can trust, right? And that platform requires the compliance feature and security feature. Once you have that platform, once you have a platform you can trust, you can actually, the human can enter the data, but at the same time, you can connect that to a lot of data you already have, be it the customer relationship database, the pricing database, inventory database, and so on, right? And so once you have that platform, now the human and now the machine can step in and analyze the data, provide the interesting insight to the human, right? And we at Symphony, we've been very encouraged by our customers creating innovation on top of the platform. So they already have sort of the chatbot providing insight to the human. The human, you should look at this opportunity, and this should be the right pricing. But it's not the world machine is taking over the human. It's the world of machine supporting the human. It's telling the human, here is the price range. It's likely that this trade could succeed. And the human still makes the decision. This is what I'm going to offer. And for some of the banks, we've been very encouraged that they actually have chatbot and chatbot, a bot and bot talking to each other. And it's doing the trade reconciliation that human and human used to do. And so the bot and bot talking to each other, reconciliation, and if there is exception, that will spit out to the human. Now human need to solve the complex problem. So the machine is supporting the simple task. Human can now focus on more complex tasks that the bot can, the machine cannot do. So I think, machines supporting human is, I think, the future of more collaborating workspace. And we need trusted platform being able to do that.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. So, as I have already mentioned, reliable RegTech ecosystem is essential to promote further technology innovation. And the reutilized data in the RegTech ecosystem is no longer considered to be a public good. So, Mr. Higo, I think that the platform for reliable digital identifier of eKYC is very important. So please tell us about the opportunity of your company for business expansion to C2C and B2C and even B2B with an aspect of being trusted and social significance of a praise.
Okay. In the case of C2C, I will mention the sharing economy. In sharing economy services, originally services are provided by a person hired by a company, that is B2C, and are now being provided by the same consumer who lives next door to me. At this point, identity verification is very important to know if the person you are dealing with is trustworthy, and also important to prevent fraud and crime. Another challenge in the realm of B2B is whether the person with whom the contract is signed really belongs to the company and represents the company's intentions. In Japan, it has been customary to use a personal seal to confirm the identity of the company and its legitimate authority, and we are discussing how to replace this by online. Japan is often derided as being behind the curve in terms of digital transformation, but I don't think it's possible to ignore the fact that the private sector is sufficiently developed and that companies have a high level of compliance with privacy regulations in terms of protecting personal data. The way we transition from society at the moment is very important. Also, to Ogawa-san's point, in the first half, data is a public good. I think the personal information and the information for identification, those are information for trust, needs to be in direct circulation. I think it's important to have it in a place that is easily mapped to the data in circulation and to be able to check the mapping when it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So on the other hand, when it comes to the infrastructure for handling data, there was a problem of data monopoly, such as GAFA in the past. So now I think that the accountability of not monopolizing data is needed. So Mr. Uehara-san, what do you think about this point when providing information infrastructure services that handled important information, please?
Yeah, it's a very sensitive topic, and Symphony took simple but difficult stance that we drew the clear delineation that the data is owned by customer. And what that means is the service provider should not have access to data. So we developed a technology to split the data and encryption key. And we have patented technology. The encryption key can be managed on customer network, and we have no access. So compared to other, the platformer, the cloud platformers, we have a configuration that all the data in the cloud is all encrypted, and we have no access to the key. So as a service provider, we do not have a way to decrypt those data in the cloud. So that was the decision we made, and we strongly believe that the data belongs to the customer, not the service provider, and service provider should not have access to the data.
Thank you so much. So furthermore, it is certain that the concept of being trusted of data process and technology will be the key to digital transformation in the future. So, Mr. Kobayashi-san, the digital agency was newly established in Japan and the new Prime Minister. From the perspective of process mining, do you have any expectation not only for the private sectors but also for the public sectors? So please ask about the solution of social pain points through public and private partnerships and the new opportunities, please.
Yes, definitely digital transformation is our national agenda. So let me describe from process mining perspective. Process mining is a kind of technology aiming to help us to see the true reality and foster awareness and activate change toward transformation in an organic way. That is inductive and bottom-up approach rather than deductive or top-down approach like ERP. So that's why I believe process mining fits the Japanese. At the same time, we need to clarify the ultimate target and vision to achieve. So in this context, I expect the government to show the rational national aspiration and set a clear agenda. So the other day, Prime Minister Suga declared that Japan will go carbon neutral by 2050. Such aspiration would unite innovative approach and thinking. Actually, Celonis is already utilizing process mining technology to help companies to track CO2 emittance on a digital dashboard. So executives can now see how much CO2 is produced by their company's daily activities in his boardroom. That's fantastic. So the technology helps even to reduce CO2 emittance by advising, for example, the optimal logistic routes for truck drivers. So for carbon neutral society, we need to roll out such innovative solutions to social wide. So this way, big aspiration with clear agenda, requires innovation and transformation. That's what I expect the government to do. And also one more aspect, in order to make more companies take risks in investing in innovation, I think backing up such special tax measures, some kind of things are also effective. So recently I had a discussion with government about tax incentives for DX. So I do hope that that kind of a backup measure will come out soon. Thank you.
Thank you. So very fantastic. So thank you so much. So, Mr. Higo-san, I'd like to ask you about your opinion more about social service. For example, the one-stop service currently being promoted by the digital government, such as Estonia. Whether it could be led by a private sector like your company. Also, let me ask you, what is the social benefit of collaboration in the private and governance? To share the example, anti-money laundering, suspicious transaction data. So please, can you ask?
Yes. Earlier, I mentioned the situation in Japan. I think that the government as data controller approach may not be the way to implement solutions in a society where the private sector is well developed. In that case, the government should take advantage of the cooperation between the private sector on non-competitive areas. As Uehara-san said, We don't compete every time, and we want to cooperate. And the rules that constrain that cooperation may need to be modified. We look forward to measures that promote private sector ingenuity in order to prevent fraud and make its activities more efficient. As for one-stop services, the Digital Administrative Procedure Act, I don't know exactly in English, but in Japanese, デジタル手続き法.
Thank you so much.
Yes, that provides for one-stop services with private services of public nature. And I would like to see more collaboration between private sectors and the government.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So final question. Let's start with Uehara-san. So let me ask you what your expectation regarding a RegTech ecosystem consisted of various stakeholders with a framework of real-time and trusted data system and latest technology. Please, can I ask you your opinion, please?
Thank you. It's a little bit difficult to comment after the broad carbon neutral and social good discussion, but let me do my best. And I took a note about Higo-san's comment about the private sector actually sufficiently technically advanced, right? And we see that. And when we talk about FinTech, it's often some external to finance industry pressuring finance to do something through the API and so on, right? And the finance is being somewhat difficult to connect or innovate or move forward or to automate the process. And I think the RegTech is one of the biggest key to unlock the innovation within finance. So we spoke about, the once we create the platform, the finance can create the automation, the bot reconciling the trade and so on, right? So that actually enable finance, which is because of compliance and security, the data and the processes are so siloed and manual. But once you create that platform where inside the financial industry, you can innovate and automate and to create the great user experience, then actually that enables the inside of the finance to automate. And once the inside of the finance is automated and innovative, the finance is a hub for many other industry, right? Being insurance or trade finance or in case of the Japan, empowering the regional economy and so on. For that social good, finance is in the center. So solving the RegTech challenge by collaborating, not competing with each other. So, and making the finance industry to the next step will have a huge opportunity, huge sort of the positive ripple effect to all the other industries where the finance is a hub. So I think it is really exciting how Japan or all the other region, other countries, and figure out how to how we solve the RegTech challenge by collaborating.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much, everyone. So the great panel discussion. Thank you. So see you. Bye bye.